The tension in the room grew thicker. Every alien species in the galaxy knew the power of coffee had changed the game. It wasn't just about a drink anymore. It was about a revolution in the making. "We'll launch an expedition," Ryna said firmly, "to Earth, and we'll bring back the truth about this drink." The air in the briefing room hummed with quiet tension. Around the large table sat the delegates from the various galactic factions, each of them staring at the hologram of Earth displayed in the center of the table. The blue and green planet seemed peaceful from afar, but the growing power of coffee had already shifted the balance of the galaxy, and the stakes were higher than ever. Ryna stood at the head of the room, her face set in determination. She had just briefed the council on the plan, one that no one in this room had ever expected to undertake. A team of the galaxy's finest had been assembled, and the mission was clear. Locate Earth, find the source of coffee's mysterious power, and bring back whatever was necessary to control it. The stakes were higher than any they had ever faced before. "Captain Ryna," Harnox's voice echoed from the far side of the room. The clock's leader was glaring at her, his crimson eyes burning with suspicion. "This mission, it seems dangerous, even for your standards. Earth is barely known to us. How do you intend to find this planet, let alone extract answers about this substance?" Ryna didn't flinch. Her eyes met his with a fierce resolve. "We have coordinates, Harnox. The Torkins were the first to contact Earth's coffee trade, and they left us a trail. But even more than that, we'll have help. The Uitrills and the Zalith are offering their scout ships. We'll follow the route, trace their movements, and once we land, we will uncover the truth." Vornus, the leader of the Uitrills, hissed from his corner of the room, clearly not convinced. "You think this planet can just be found? It's not even in the central sectors of our galaxy. And even if you manage to get there, do you really believe Earth's people will just hand over the secrets of their coffee?" Ryna smirked slightly. "That's why we're sending special agents, the best of the best. Humans aren't the only ones who've learned how to navigate danger. If Earth's people are as tough as their coffee, we'll need all the help we can get." The room fell silent as Ryna moved to the holomap, pulling up the star charts. The map zoomed in on a small, previously unimportant region of space, a dark sector that lay on the edge of galactic civilization. The human sector, as it was now called, had been largely ignored by the galaxy's elite, until now. "Earth's position has been lost to us for generations," Ryna said, pointing to the star system. "But if the rumors are true, Earth isn't just some random planet. It's a planet that has been cultivating a resource, coffee, that can affect the minds of anyone who consumes it. It's time we found out how." One by one, the representatives around the table nodded. The idea was risky, even reckless, but they all knew there was no turning back now. The coffee was too valuable to ignore, and if Earth had unlocked something as powerful as they claimed, then they couldn't afford to leave it in the hands of any one species. Ryna stepped back from the table and addressed her team of agents, a small group of elite soldiers, diplomats, and scientists from various star systems. They would be the ones to lead the mission to Earth. She could feel the weight of the decision on her shoulders. The unified galaxy had never been tested like this before. If they succeeded, they would control the future. If they failed, they risked an all-out war over coffee. "All right, team," Ryna said, her voice firm and commanding. "We'll leave in 12 hours. We have no time to waste. Get ready for the unknown." The expeditionary ship was ready, a sleek, stealthy vessel designed for deep space travel. As Ryna walked toward the docking bay, her mind raced with all the variables of the mission. The galaxy's most powerful species would be watching them, waiting for any slip-up. She couldn't afford failure. Her crew was diverse, with specialists from every corner of the galaxy. The first was Corin, a Zalith engineer who had helped design the ship's unique propulsion systems. Despite their reptilian appearance, Zaliths were known for their genius-level intellects, and Corin was one of the best. Next to him was Vexa, a human scientist who had spent the last several months researching Earth's history and culture. Vexa's specialty was linguistics, and her knowledge of Earth's languages would be crucial if they encountered any resistance. Finally, there was Jace, a Torcan warrior whose skills in hand-to-hand combat were legendary. Jace had an intimidating reputation across the galaxy, and while most Torcans were known for their brutal strength, Jace was as sharp as a razor when it came to tactics and strategy. Ryna's team assembled in the command center of the ship. The gravity was low and the hum of the ship's engines vibrated through the walls. Ryna's eyes locked with each member of her crew. "Are you all ready?" she asked. "Born ready," Jace said, cracking his knuckles with a smile that sent chills down Ryna's spine. "We've studied every scrap of intel on Earth," Vexa chimed in, her voice steady. "The humans are tough, but we'll need to be more than just tough to survive there." Corin adjusted the controls, his many eyes flicking over the screens. "We'll make it to Earth undetected. It's the landing that worries me. The planet has been off the grid for too long." Ryna nodded. "We'll deal with that when we get there. Our main priority is the coffee. Once we find the source, we'll control the flow. After that, we can handle the rest." As the countdown began, the ship's engines roared to life. Ryna took one last look at the galaxy outside the window. She was about to venture into uncharted territory, into the heart of Earth, where the future of the galaxy would be decided. "Let's make history," Ryna muttered, her voice steely and determined. The stars outside her window stretched into long lines as the ship broke through the warp gate. Earth, and its incredible power, awaited them. The stars stretched into long ribbons of light as the ship hurtled through the warp gates. Ryna stood in front of the large observation window, her eyes narrowing as the glowing orb of Earth loomed larger. She could feel the tension in the air. Everyone aboard the ship knew the magnitude of what was at stake. But Earth was still a mystery, a place whose true nature had been concealed for centuries. Now they were about to uncover its secrets. "Prepare for atmospheric entry," Corin's voice crackled through the intercom. "We'll need to stay low and avoid detection by any planetary defense systems. Earth's tech is primitive, but they've got some surprises up their sleeves." Ryna nodded, turning away from the window. The ship had entered the Earth's orbit. The next few moments would decide everything. She gathered her team for a final briefing. "All right, listen up," she began, her voice cold and authoritative. "We don't know what we'll find down there. Humans have been under the radar for far too long. But there's one thing we do know. Coffee is more than just a drink to them. It's vital. We need to find the source and secure it before any other factions get wind of this." Jace, the Torcan warrior, cracked his knuckles, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "I don't care about the coffee, Captain. I just want to see how they fight." "We're not here to start a war," Ryna said, shooting him a sharp look. "We're here for answers." "Understood," Jace grumbled, clearly not thrilled by the diplomatic approach, but he didn't argue. He was a soldier, after all. The countdown to their descent began. The ship's engines powered down, and soon they were plummeting through Earth's atmosphere, a trail of fire and smoke behind them. Outside the ship, the clouds swirled, dark and stormy, creating an imposing backdrop for their arrival. The ship shuddered as it broke through the dense clouds, and with a sharp jolt it landed on a stretch of land far from any major city. The crash was rough, but it was no surprise. Ryna was already at the door, a determined look on her face. Corin adjusted his controls. "We've landed, but this is not a soft landing. Systems are compromised. We've got to move quickly." Ryna took one last glance at the team before giving the signal. "Get ready. Let's go meet Earth's greatest gift." The doors of the ship hissed open and the team emerged into the dense forest surrounding them. The air smelled unfamiliar, like earth, wet and rich, mingled with something sharper, something addictive. "Welcome to Earth," Vexa muttered, looking around. She seemed more in tune with the planet than the rest of the team. Her curiosity piqued by the sight of plants, animals, and a whole ecosystem that had previously been nothing more than a data point on a map. Ryna took the lead, her boots crunching through the underbrush. "We're not here for sightseeing. Coffee first. We need to find out where this planet is hiding its greatest power." The rest of the team followed closely behind, keeping their eyes peeled for any signs of human activity. There was no telling what kind of resistance they might face. The humans of Earth were not known for being passive, and if they were the source of coffee's mysterious influence, they might not be eager to share it with galactic strangers. But just as Ryna was about to give the order to split up and search, a rustling sound came from the bushes ahead. The team immediately dropped into combat positions, hands hovering over their weapons. The air was thick with tension. Out of the trees stepped a human. A man, no older than 25, dressed in a dirty shirt and pants. He was holding a steaming cup of coffee in one hand, and his eyes met Ryna's with a mixture of confusion and wariness. His fingers twitched, as if ready to defend his coffee at all costs. For a moment no one moved. Then the man spoke, his voice low but firm. "You're not from around here, are you?" Ryna blinked. "We are travelers. We come in peace. We need to know about your coffee." The man's eyes narrowed. He glanced down at the cup in his hands and then back at Ryna, sizing her up. "What do you want with it?" "We need to understand its power," Ryna said, stepping forward cautiously. "It's critical to our mission. If you help us, it could change everything." The man's lips curled into a smile, one that was both knowing and almost amused. "Power? Yeah, coffee has a lot of power. But you don't understand. It's not just about drinking it. It's about what happens when it takes hold of you." Ryna raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" The man took a slow sip of his coffee, his eyes glimmering with an unspoken challenge. "You'll see soon enough." He turned away from them, heading deeper into the forest. "Follow me. I'll show you what Earth's greatest gift can really do." The team followed the man through the dense forest for what felt like hours, until they finally arrived at a small, hidden settlement. It was like nothing Ryna had expected. There were no bustling cities, no advanced infrastructure. It was simple, raw, and yet powerful. At the center of the settlement, a large group of people was gathered around a fire, laughing, talking, and, strangely enough, drinking coffee. Ryna observed their behavior closely. It wasn't just a beverage for them. It was a cultural ritual, something that connected them all, a bond that seemed to tie them together. The man who had led them here waved over to the group. "They don't know about you, so you'll need to be careful. But you're about to see what I mean." Ryna watched as one of the people in the group stood up, a woman holding a coffee mug with both hands. She stepped forward and began speaking in a language Ryna couldn't immediately understand. But the crowd responded eagerly, leaning in to hear her words. "Why do you think this simple drink has such power?" the woman asked, her voice soft but confident. "Because we understand it. Coffee connects us. It makes us stronger, more united. It's more than just caffeine. It's a part of our spirit, our culture. Without it, we're nothing." Ryna's mind was racing. Could it be true? Was the power of coffee linked to something much deeper than its chemical properties? Something that connected people, even on a galactic scale? Before she could ask more, the woman turned to her. "You want the coffee's secrets? First you must drink, then you'll understand." Without waiting for an answer, the woman handed Ryna a steaming cup of Earth's most precious commodity. Ryna hesitated. The cup in her hands was warm, the steam rising up in swirls, carrying with it a rich aroma. She could feel the eyes of the whole group on her, waiting for her to take the first sip. The silence around her was thick with expectation. The woman who had handed her the coffee was watching her closely, a slight smile playing at the corners of her lips, as if she knew something Ryna didn't. The cup felt heavier than it should. She could almost hear the heartbeat of the planet in the deep, pulsing aroma. Was it really just a drink? Or was this something far more dangerous, something that could change the fate of the entire galaxy? Go on, the woman encouraged. It's not just coffee. It's the truth. Ryna exchanged a quick glance with Corin, who was standing a few paces behind her, but he only nodded as if to say, "We came here for answers." With a deep breath, Ryna brought the cup to her lips and took a long sip. The instant the coffee hit her tongue, a surge of warmth spread through her body. It wasn't just the heat from the liquid. It was as if the energy of the entire world was coursing through her veins. Her head spun, and for a brief moment she felt weightless, as if the universe itself was opening up before her. Her vision blurred, then sharpened. The world around her seemed to slow, the sounds of the forest becoming clearer, more distinct. She could hear every rustling leaf, every whisper of the wind. The fire crackled with an intensity she had never noticed before. She blinked, and suddenly she was inside the coffee. Not physically, but in a way that was far more profound. She saw images flickering in her mind, humans, hundreds of them, working together in harmony, overcoming challenges, building and creating, laughing, crying, fighting.